to this week's Raw Spotlight. We have Dargie.
Hello.
I didn't get it right this time. I always point to the wrong side. Dargie is from New Zealand, and he's a new friend of mine. We've only what, past 2-3 months?
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dargie streams on Twitch. Dargie, what's your full name? Because I think I put your name in wrong.
My full name.
What, your full Twitch name?
Dargie1.
Oh, I missed the one.
Yeah. It's to signify that I'm the one and only Dargie.
The one and only Dargie, because they cannot be the only Dargie. Is that why you always come in saying, is this the real princess? Because you're the real Dargie?
No, I like to just hype people up by coming in and being like, it's like when you go to the supermarket and you see a celebrity and you see that they don't want to be there and they don't want anyone to talk to them, but somebody still goes, "Are you Liam Hemsworth?" And they're like, "Yes, I am." And then you take a photo with them and like they're smiling, but you not with their eyes, you know?
Yeah.
And that, yeah. So I try to recreate that situation every time I show up somewhere. In a stream, in a Discord call, just in real life.
That's pretty cool. I just quoted your catchphrase. So, if you're like the one and only Dargie, do I need to put like a one next to my name so I'm the one and only Princess Flick?
I mean, you could do that, but then you would be sort of encroaching on my trademarked turf, and I feel like you're getting into legal troubles then. There's going to be a whole royalties cut. And I mean, you are royalty, so that gets even more confusing. I feel like it may be too tough.
I have no plans on changing my name anyway, so that's a good answer. That's a good answer, Dargie. Now, Dargie, what do you normally stream?
What do I normally stream?
Yeah.
I like games that challenge me, both mentally and physically, and also a little bit spiritually. That one's a joke. I feel like maybe I shouldn't make fun of religion in any way.
Okay.
I have been streaming Curse the Dead Gods recently.
Yes.
It's been kicking my butt.
Yes.
It's been aiming straight for the center. I have been playing Dark Souls. I played a lot of RimWorld. Anything that's sort of like a roguelite, anything that's mechanically deep or like high reaction time sort of games, I generally tend to play. But I mean, I'll play anything. Strategy. I played a lot of first person. I play a lot of first person shooters. A lot of first person shooters.
You do actually.
Well,
actually, no, I don't know. I've only seen you play the recent one. What's the latest one you're playing? I get all your games so confused.
Curse the Dead Gods?
Yes. That's the main one I've seen you play. Not really any shooters.
Yeah, so I don't play them. I mean, I started streaming back just over a year ago now. I think I was a year last week.
Were you?
Yeah, I started streaming during the New Zealand lockdown because I moved down to where I'm living now only a few months before. Having never been here before, I moved down here, so I knew no one. I essentially had no one to chat to, and I was like, you know what? I may as well. I have this new computer that I just rebuilt literally the week before we went into level 4 shutdown and couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
So if I have the capability to stream, I may as well. So like any true blue news streamer, I went straight to the Call of Duty Black Ops Warzone category and proceeded to have one viewer for months and months and months. And I had a great time doing it. But at the same time, as I guess, new Twitch streamer, even though I've been on Twitch technically since 2009, I met no one new. And then also, I just decided, like, maybe I play something more casual.
I had no idea that Dargie started a year ago. I literally thought Dargie started streaming like a few months ago.
So
I remember you moving though. I do remember you moving.
Yeah,
Do you mean just recently move again? No.
Yeah, so I moved from my old job, because I used to be a winemaker, did that for a while, and then I moved over to the dark side of brewing. I'm now a craft brewer. Well, I mainly focus on quality control, so I do all the tasting and micro and stuff and whatnot and such.
Wait, so your job is literally tasting all the beer to make sure it's like good?
Not as much fun as you think. But I'll get to that later.
Okay.
So I moved in October 2019 down to a new city. In fact, it's a 9.5-hour drive from where I was. I learned that recently because I did that drive. which is probably like a standard drive to the supermarket in Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I moved down here, having literally never been even like a quarter of the distance down to this place, knowing no one. And I was like, why not just pick up and move to a new city?
I've done it before.
Yeah, well, it's the second time I've done it. Every time I make a new friend, I'm like, well, gotta change that. And so I continue to just move further south. So my next step is
Wait,
if
so
I
you make a
leave here,
friend and leave?
and honestly, it's been that. I mean, that's a bit of hyperbole. I've made a lot of friends, and I was in Blenheim for 4 years, just counting that 6 months where I went backpacking.
Fair enough.
Hmm.
Cool.
But yeah,
Wow.
so it was moving down here that I guess the pandemic that sort of started me on my journey to streaming, because why
Journey
not?
to greatness. Well, congratulations on your 1 year.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I didn't celebrate it at all because I forgot until the day it was until the actual day.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't celebrate my 1 year either because I don't know when I really started. I kind of like didn't really start.
Hmm.
Then I kind of like went over to Tokyo, and then when I came back, I'm like, yeah, I'm a streamer now. So yeah, just happened.
I guess you say like when I got back from Tokyo, that's your start date.
Yeah, I
Because
don't know
that's the
what that
moment when you are like,
was.
yes, this is it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because I know before that, I did like the really, really odd, once a month
Hmm.
kind of thing. But yeah, it was when I got
I
back from
mean,
Tokyo. I was like, yes,
yeah, because
let's
like I
stream.
tested my computer, my old computer back when it was like a GTX 770, and it was running on a 47 4770K CPU, and I was like,
Oh
this can
wow.
totally stream. And then I
Yeah.
started and I tried to play Absolver, and it couldn't. It really couldn't. It was bad. And so I was like, all right, maybe this isn't for me. And then when I rebuilt the computer, because it was getting to the point where it was getting so hot just trying to play any game that
Oh
it
my
heated my
gosh.
entire house, that I was like,
Yeah.
maybe before my computer explodes, I'm gonna update this. And I
Let's
just
just
happened to time it
upgrade.
perfectly. Hmm.
Yeah, fair enough. I started on 750 for my graphics. I have no idea what like my CPU was.
It's always a
Something
good sign.
shocking. Yeah. But I know my graphics card was only like a 750 whatever it was.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just ran.
Yeah. I mean, if it runs, that's what you need.
I think I did it for like
Sadly, my
6
one
months on
didn't run.
that.
Yeah. See, 6 months, and then you upgrade later on.
Yeah.
You only need to upgrade things when you need to, right? There are
Exactly.
nice to haves, and if it isn't working, then you have to.
And
But
I didn't upgrade. I haven't upgraded since actually. It's been like, yeah, 2.5, 3 years. And we actually didn't go with the. Oh my god, what am I running now? I have a
I
1080.
think you were supposed to tell me.
No, Matt normally tells me.
I see. You gave somebody else a list of, I want it to do this. And then
Yeah.
they give you back all the parts that you need to buy. And you're like, cool, I trust you implicitly.
Yes.
Hmm.
And then I know we didn't get something. I think we got like the 1080, but before that I got like the 1060 because
Hmm.
I wanted to get like RGB RAM instead. So I literally like went down a level just to get RGB RAM. And then like a few months later I'm like, you know what? I actually need the 1080. And he's like,
Hmm.
yeah, you do. So then I went and
Yep.
got that. But I still got
See,
my RGB.
I'm not a fan of RGB. I
What?
like things clean and simple. And
No,
so like
colors.
if you saw my computer case, it's literally like black tempered glass on the sides. It looks
Yeah.
like it's been architecturally designed, and it's brushed steel right the way around the middle band. So
Wow.
it's like an art piece. Like it sits in the room, it's there. Before there were no lights. If it being on and off was literally a case of sound, you would not know if you were like outside a window and you couldn't tell.
Oh wow,
Now
crazy.
I got a new AMD card and a 2080 Super, and I can't turn the lights off, and it
Uh
annoys
oh.
me so much because the settings are there, and it's like, would you like to turn off the lights for this GPU?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yes.
you've convinced me. I will do that. Doesn't do anything.
Are you
And so
kidding
now-
me?
Yeah, anytime I look at my second monitor, so when you're talking, I look at you, behind it is a big glowing rainbow fan, and below that is is it EVGA? Whichever it is, I can't see past
GB.
that part, but GeForce RTX, and it's right there. It burns my retinas in the middle of the night whenever I decide to play games. It's just, I can't.
That's wonderful.
It's like buying like a set of cutlery to me, and then you lose a spoon, and you're like, I'll get a new spoon, and that teaspoon is different.
It doesn't
All
fit.
the rest.
Yeah.
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 This is what my computer has become to me.
The thing that I love RGB, like I love colors and everything,
Mm.
but I like everything to be uniformed. So my issue is I can't sync my keyboard, my tower, and my Nanoleafs to all be the same because they're all from different companies. Yeah. So that's my frustration. Because I would love it to be all the same and to change all the same. I've been looking and I just can't find anything. So
I think you'll
don't
find
know.
something one day. I'm sure it has to exist.
yeah, one day.
Because I know there are RGB controllers that you can put into computers and things run off of that.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
It may be that like only some companies work with that and some don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an RGB man.
Well, if there's anyone in chat who's an RGB person that knows how to like link everything together, please let us know.
Yes, and if there is
Yes.
anyone that knows how to just turn off the lights, just please turn off the lights.
Just
That's
let us
all
know
I
as
need.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
My brother's actually quite the same, and so is Matt. They don't like the RGB. My brother was trying to buy a new keyboard, and he wanted brown keys, whatever, the sticky, clacky brown ones.
Oh, yep.
And
The
you
chemical
can't
switches.
get them without RGB.
Well, so
He looked for
here's
ages.
the one point that I like. Every rule has an exception, and I hate RGB except for on a keyboard, you have your lights off, it's dark. If the keyboard lights up,
You can see your
the
keys. Yeah,
If-
yeah.
I don't know. I know where every key is on my keyboard. I can type without looking. When the lights are off and the light on the keyboard is off, can't type. I lose all confidence
So do I.
in my
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all of a sudden I'm like, is this the N key or is this a space bar? I don't know anymore. And I
Because there's no
feel like
lights on it right now.
Exactly. I have no indicator. It's like I worked in a call center when I was studying.
Mm-hmm.
I said that opening like script thousands of times, every day, so many times. I knew it. I could probably still say it right now, but I couldn't do it like on the phone without having the script in front of me. Because what if I forgot it?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yep. What would that person on the phone that already hates me think of me then?
I hate you even more then.
Probably not. They'll probably see me as a human being, and I don't know how that would go then.
I don't know either. Chatty's saying Nanoleaf has an integration with Razer and stuff. That is true, Fennec. They do have an integrate, but not all my stuff is Razer. So that's where it comes into like the hard way. And I have a tickle in my throat. Sorry for coughing in your ear.
That's fine. I'll live.
I'm sure you will. Yeah. So this is true. Nanoleaf does have an integration, and Cooler Master also has an RGB controller. So that kind of fixes my stuff, but I don't have anything to do with Cooler Master. That doesn't
Yeah.
fix like Dargie's problem to turn anything off.
You know, that's.
Yeah.
I'll work it out one day.
Yeah, one
One
day.
day. Somewhere.
Now, you've got the new job. Well, it's not. I don't think it's that new anymore. But you're now a beer tester.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So.
Tell me about beer testing. Wait,
Yeah.
I have a cramp in my calf. I'm sorry. Podcast. Okay, it's all good.
No, that's all good. I mean, I could tell you about my job now, or I could tell you about like my career that led me to this first.
Let's go with the career that led you to being a beer tester.
Okay. Well.
Start from the
let's see.
start.
Yeah, start from
Once upon
the
a
very
time when
beginning.
Dargie was
I remember
little.
it like it was yesterday. It would have been a warm summer, and the year was 2014. So I studied microbiology and chemistry up in
Oh
Palmerston
yeah.
North, New Zealand, where I grew up. Um, so I did that, finished that, or as I was finishing that, so the way I got into working with food and production, because I had literally no idea what I was going to do. All I know is that I wanted to do science, and that I wanted to like create things. And so my little sister's best friend's mum
Yep.
was, in fact, she still is, the quality leader at Yoplait New Zealand,
Oh
the yogurt
wow.
company.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Um, hmm. They had a laboratory technician who was the on-site microbiologist who was leaving at the end of the year to go back studying, and they needed to find someone within a month.
Yep.
Somehow it got to my little sister's best friend through her mum. My little sister was like, "Oh, you should ask Dargie. He does science stuff.
He does science.
He would be great for the job." And my little sister's best friend went back to her mum and was like, "Dargie does science stuff apparently. You should hire him."
Yep.
Gave her my number. I got a call while I was at the uni going, "Hey, we hear you do science stuff. Would you like to come in for an interview?" And I was like, "I do science stuff. Yes, that is what I do." And so I went in and I explained a bit about what I had learned. And they're like, "Cool, you can start on the 5th of January 2015. Because I remember that date. So I started up and did that for a year. And then they were turning... I ate so much yogurt. I ate more yogurt than is humanly possible to some people.
Oh gosh.
I would wake up, I would go to work, I would have a 6-pack of yogurt at work. And then at smoko time, I would have 2 yogurts. And then at lunchtime, I'd have another 2. And then I would take a pot on the way home from work. So some people are lactose intolerant. I learned that I am lactose super tolerant.
I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't think of
There we
anything worse than that much yogurt right now.
Fun fact, yogurt, the lactic acid bacteria in yogurt breaks down lactose. So if you are eating Greek yogurt, theoretically, as long as you're not like hyper sensitive to it, it shouldn't affect you that badly. But anyway, carrying on.
Yep, continue.
So I did that for a year. They were changing the job from a yearly renewed contract to a full-time position. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to reapply for it, go through an interview process. I would have had the job, but like it's a bit of a rigmarole. And I was like, well, if I'm doing that, kind of sick of living at home with my parents, why don't I apply for a couple of other jobs?
Yeah.
So I applied for a job in Australia in
Didn't get it.
No, I didn't get it. In
Sad
fact, they
face.
never responded to me. It was
rejected.
for Dear Iced Coffee.
Oh my god, can you imagine drinking like 10 liters of iced coffee a day? Oh,
Honestly, don't even get me started. I could have easily done that.
Oh, that's just disgusting as well.
I did that, and then I also applied for a winery role as a laboratory technician at a winery. And me being me, I don't drink very much, which is very counterintuitive to my whole career path. But I was like, I've only had 3 glasses of wine in my life, but yogurt wine, basically the same thing.
What's the difference?
I'm sure I can work this out. Yeah, what even is the difference, really? I'm sure you
They're
can
both
swap them out in
liquid,
a
you
meal.
swallow.
So I applied for that, got the job, even though I was very upfront with them that I'd only had 3 glasses of wine in my life and 2 of them were port. Got there, and I was like, right, okay, I need to work out why red grapes are red. That's probably a good start. And did that for a long time. Made a whole lot of wine. I now have about 200...
Why are red grapes red?
Well...
Is that just DNA
You're
in
asking the
science
right
of
person.
geno, like...
I mean, yeah, all varieties are expressed by different DNA, but what makes it red is the anthocyanins in the skin. So it's actually technically a blue coloring, but depending on the pH, it makes it red.
Interesting. Okay.
So the more you know.
So then why are green grapes green?
They don't have those anthocyanins.
Oh, okay. So they're missing it. So the red ones have it, that makes them red. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a whole bunch of things like Rosé is a red wine, red grapes that are treated as a white wine most of the time. There's a few different varieties, but
Chat, we
all
learnt something
ways.
today. Yeah, great.
If you come out of this learning anything, it's probably two things. One, Dargie looks a lot like Jesus, like scarily like Jesus. And two, it's that anthrocyanins are what makes red wine red, and rosé is just red wine grapes made as a white wine. So there you go.
Cool.
Um,
Thanks, Dargie.
no problem. So yeah, I worked in the lab there for a long time, made a lot of wine. I have about 230 bottles of wine sitting in the other room.
So you still have a lot of wine, like you haven't.
Yeah. It's like this is like it's a real problem in my life, but people are like, "Wow, your life is so tough." When I moved, can you imagine having to move half a pallet of wine every time you try to move house?
No, you've been really frustrating.
It's incredibly frustrating.
Yes.
When I was like, I moved from only a couple of streets over to this house, like recently, like
Yeah.
the 1st of February. It took 3 car trips, completely full of my car with boxes of wine, just wine.
I can actually
That's
imagine. Yeah.
And I don't have anywhere to store it. It's just sitting in my lounge, all in a massive pile. There's a corner that I can't enter. There's not enough to make a giant throne. Instead, there's just enough to annoy me.
So how long have you had the wine for, and what are you planning to do with the wine?
Well, I'm going to do what any normal person would do. I'm going to just slowly give it away. Wine is good in that, like, you can age it, right? Like,
Yeah.
yogurt probably
Goes
can't
off.
hold that, for a long time. Couldn't chuck that in a whole lot of boxes and leave it in the corner of my... I mean, I could, but, like, what would people say, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas,
That's
like,
gross.
wine, it's acceptable as long as you're not, like, putting it in direct sunlight all the time, and, like, you try to maintain a modicum of, like, temperature control in your house, which generally I think everyone tries to do. It'll be fine. If anything, like, Pinot Noir gets even better. Like, at 15 years, essentially, is when Pinot Noir is supposed to peak, depending on certain winemaking practices.
Oh, really?
Every
15 years?
harvest is different. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the difference, though, between being, like, a winemaker and, like, a casual, I go to the supermarket and I buy a whatever's on special because I'm going to get drunk tonight. Like, it's the difference in how you go about it, I guess, or, like, what your opinion is.
Yeah. My dad likes his wine. They go up to the Hunter Valley a lot and do their wine testings and everything, and my dad likes to pretend that he knows a lot, so he's like, I can taste a hint of whatever. And Mum's like, can you really now? So,
I mean,
yeah.
the funny thing is, so whenever I had to run wine tastings, it's amazing, like, seeing because, like, when you work in a winery, you're used to people who are used to tasting wine, right? And so you sit there and you have these discussions and you're, like, everyone's on the same page. Like, you know what to expect from the certain variety. So you taste a Pinot Noir and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm supposed to get, like, jammy notes. I'm supposed to get, like, it's supposed to be light. It's supposed to have a lot of subtleties to it.
Okay.
When you're tasting with someone who doesn't, you get almost like a more real interpretation of a wine.
Yeah, that makes sense, because they have no idea what they're meant to expect or what's meant to be in it, so they give you, like, their true taste of it. Yeah.
They're telling you what they actually interpret everything as. So if somebody tastes this wine and they're like, this tastes sweet, and for some reason it tastes like dirt on the end, whereas like a winemaker, like, they're gonna pretty it up, like, they're gonna talk flowery about it. They're gonna be like, yes, there's, like, it's got, again, jammy is a good one that comes to mind, and then on the end it's got earthy notes, you know? Like,
yeah, right.
They're
What
going
is
to give
jammy,
you the
though?
nice version. Jammy is like, the way that you define it is fruit weight. So in this example in particular, when you make red wine, you essentially take all the skins, or pretty much, you like partially sort of rupture the skins, you chuck them all in a tank with an open top. Like, so it's literally just a giant, like, 14-ton capacity stainless steel bowl. And you just let it, like, sit there and ferment. And it's very manual in that you literally, 2 to 3 times a day, you get up on the top with a stick and you poke the
Oh.
skins back into the wine as it ferments, because as
gonna ask
the
that, going, do
yeast
you, like,
ferments the
crush
sugar,
it?
yeah, it makes alcohol, it makes CO2, and that pushes all the skins up.
Oh.
And so as the ferment gets like, and that's because you need to extract all like the anthocyanins from the skin to make it red, right? Because if you don't do that, you get rosé.
Okay. Yep, I'm putting it all together. Okay. What else do you put in there? Like, you can't just put a bucket of grapes, do you? Like,
Well, I mean, it's like they're like big volumes of grapes, right?
yeah.
Like at the winery I worked at, we'd make 12 million liters of wine a year. So
What
we're
else
we're
is
talking.
in wine? Do you add any sugar or any, like,
I mean, ideally not.
water?
There's
Something
like
else?
nah.
So it's
So
literally
there are
just
certain
grape
things you can.
juice.
Grapes and yeast, yeah.
Yeast.
I mean, like
Interesting.
in some ways, like for example, l- you have to have certain amounts of alcohol. So the problem with being in an agricultural
Oh,
industry
yeah,
is
do
that
you
you're
add alcohol? Don't worry.
no,
It's-
you don't add
Oh,
alcohol.
you
The yeast
don't?
makes alcohol. Yeah, the yeast, because that's the whole point of the yeast, right? Is yeast make alcoholic fermentation, and they do the same thing when you're making bread or like, if you're making a pizza base at home, you add yeast
Yeah.
and it breaks down and it creates CO2, and that's what does the rise.
Do you
Exact
tell that
same
I
thing
don't,
in
like, drink wine?
Well, it amazes me how many people don't know a lot of information about the food that they eat.
Yeah.
Like I love learning things. It's like my favorite hobby is to sit down and like solve problems and learn things. And I like to be a Dargie of all trades. Like I
Fair
like to
enough.
have a passing knowledge of everything. And so like
A master of none but knowledge of all.
yeah, essentially. I mean, I like to think I've mastered a couple of things so far, but I've certainly like I if I know nothing about something, I like to have at least enough to understand like how it gets to the point that it gets
Yeah,
to me.
fair enough.
Or
Yeah.
like if somebody was to ask me a question, I would know enough to try and like interpret an answer. But yeah, so when you're making alcohol, it's generally speaking, your ingredients are whatever a base is. So for wine, it's grapes, and then yeast, and that's it.
Yeah,
Because
wow.
essentially, like all the flavors on the back. So when you pick up a Sauvignon Blanc, and it's like, oh, this has got capsicum and grassy notes and tomato leaf. And what it really means is like that's the expression of the grapes, and to a certain amount, yeast give off some flavors as well as like a byproduct
Yeah,
of the
right.
fermentation. So that's all it is. And so one year we had somebody come and work for us, and it was his first wine harvest. And he had been working in what we call Pinot Land, because we only did Pinot Noir, for like a month. And I was walking past, and he was like, "Hey, Dargie, when do we add the strawberries to the rosé?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Well, it's got strawberry flavors. When do we add that?" And I was like, we don't add strawberries. And he was like, well, how does it get the strawberry in there? And I was like, it's already in there. That's just the flavor of the wine. And he was very confused at when we were going to add the strawberries and cream.
And cream?
Well, strawberries and cream is like a classic flavor profile
Oh,
of a rosé.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I did that for 4 years, working in the lab and then also taking on my own winemaking projects.
So did you start? Do you start to drink? Wait. Did you start to drink more wine? Like, do you drink wine now at all, or?
I mean, like, I don't drink it, and that like it's never my go-to choice of drink. Like, if you sat me down and you're like, "We're hanging out, you have to have a drink," I would probably have a beer, even when I was working at the winery.
Fair enough.
But like now, I understand how to appreciate it. So like, somebody can hand me a glass of wine and not give me a choice in the matter, and like I can enjoy it because I like from like a professional standpoint.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, that's interesting. Fair enough. Yeah.
But yes, so that job took me around the world. Literally, I circumnavigated it.
Really?
Yeah, I traveled to Canada to do a wine harvest over there.
Yeah. Wow.
And since I'd only ever been to Australia once before that when I was 18, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a go of it. So I took 6 months off work to literally put a spare pair of jeans and 4 shirts and a backpack and travel carry-on only around the world.
Wow, that's
Um,
amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. I miss it more and more each passing day, but
Yes.
I think it's going to be a while before
I
I do that
can
again.
completely understand that one.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes, there's nothing quite like getting chased by a dog in Morocco at 4 a.m. in the old city of Medina.
I was more
Um,
like thinking there's nothing like just traveling world of going to countries where you can't speak their language and you walk around going, where the fuck am I?
yeah,
I love that.
Well, when I was in Vietnam, I literally just I traveled partially with a friend because we were
Mr.
working at the
World
same
Jesus,
winery.
says Fennec.
Yeah, worldwide Jesus.
Worldwide Jesus. Anyway.
Jesus on the go. Yeah, so I went traveling and then made wine in Canada. I think I lived there for just over 4 months.
Okay.
Bought a car there and everything for it, which just sold like 3 weeks ago, which is very nice.
Wait, your car just sold?
Yeah, friends were borrowing it.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a nice car. It was a 2001 Mercury Cougar. I call it the Cougar Mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So made wine over there. Came back to New Zealand. Started back up at the job that I had because my job was nice enough to hold it for 6 months for me.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Continued to do that for I want to say 10 months, nearly a year, and then a job. So the job I do now is for the same so we're both under the same corporate umbrella, but different businesses. And they were looking for a brewing technologist. So it's a new role. There was,
Sounds
as
so
far as I
fancy.
can tell, no one in the world that has the same job title. And essentially, what they wanted is somebody who had a whole lot of microbiology experience and like sensory experience and tasting and critiquing alcoholic beverages. And someone that could also run analytical testing, which are all things that I had done micro at Yoplait, analytical and sensory at Wither Hills, with the winery I was working at.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay, I can definitely, like, I have all of those skills. But then I was sitting there, I was like, but like, I only just went traveling. I probably shouldn't apply for this. Like I'm pretty happy here. I can wait a little while. It would be a perfect job for me, but whatever.
Yep.
And then the next day, when like all of my coworkers were out of the lab, my boss like sat down next to me while I was working away, and she was like, "Hey, Dargie, I saw this job advert for this brewing technologist role. I think you would be perfect for it." And so she like printed it off and she slid it over to me, and she was like, "Look, just think about it. If you want to apply for it, I will talk you up." Essentially.
That's insane.
Like, yeah, I was like, "Oh, thank you. Like, it's really nice." And she was
What
like,
boss
"Yeah, just consider
ever?
it."
Yeah, maybe like, did she secretly hate you and want to get? No, I'm kidding. Rid of you.
So
Because no
like,
boss
"Thanks."
ever does that. Going, hey, here's a good job for you. Off you go.
Well, to be honest, all of my bosses have done that so far.
Oh really? Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty
But
awesome.
anyway,
That's pretty cool.
put that on my desk, continued working. My boss left. There was no one else in the lab. One of the production winemakers comes in, and he comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, Dargie, look, I was just looking through my emails and I saw this job advert that came out, and it sounded perfect for you. So I've printed it out. Here it is. I think you should apply for it."
So that's two people that did the same
Yeah.
thing. It's like, here's a job for you.
And I was like, "Wow, thanks. Like, okay, it's nice of you to think about me." And he was like, "Yeah, like if you need like someone a reference for your CV, like let me know and put me on there." And I was like, "Okay, cool, thanks." Put that
Wow.
one next to the other one. And I was like, "This is
And now there's two.
like that's two." I was like, "Gee, I guess I have to apply for this."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, that's a lot to think about. I'm gonna go make a coffee." Went to the smoker room, started making a coffee, and one of the other production winemakers comes in because I had to go through their office to get to the smoker room, and she's like, "Hey, Dargie, listen, I just saw this job advert. I think you would really like it. I've printed it out. You should totally go for this." And I was like,
That's
"Do you-"
insane.
do you hate me, Rachel? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, are you guys trying to get rid of me? And she was like, no, we don't want to get rid of you. I was like, you're the third person in like half an hour to hand me this job advert. And she was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's nice that you guys are thinking about me and want me to like develop myself. But like, guys, like coordinate it next time you're trying to get rid of me.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
who's the one? So I was like, well, if literally every single man and their dog thinks I should apply for this role, why
You're gonna
not?
do it.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The big question
I
is,
applied-
why are they looking for other jobs? Like, were those two looking
so
for other
we
jobs?
Get, we
Like,
get an email twice a week saying like, these are the new jobs that have opened up in Lion.
so it's with the same
and-
company, just not with wine. It's now with
same,
beer.
under the same corporate,
Yeah,
but, like,
umbrella
lots
thing.
of different-
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay. Yeah.
And like Lion is like a worldwide company, so there's like, I mean, Little Creatures in Aussie. Or,
Oh, I know Little Creatures. Yeah.
Yeah, so Little Creatures is Lion, 4X, Tui's.
Oh, I know all of them.
Yeah.
Never had any of them.
Oh, you would have had some of the stuff that they do over there.
I don't drink beer.
Like RTDs, they distribute a whole lot of stuff. Like you would have had something.
I've had something, yeah, just not beer. Yeah, anyway, continue.
And then, yeah, so I was like, all right, fine, I'll apply for this job. Applied for it. They had me for an interview, and they were like, all right, so tell us a bit about what you've done. And I explained my time at Yoplait, I explained my time at where the hell is a wine making and all of that. And they're like, it's really interesting. And they're like, what do you know about beer? And I was like, I brewed once as a student, and it was terrible. And they're like, oh, okay. And I was like, but I reckon I can do better now. And they're like, okay, all right. And
This sounds
so
promising.
yeah, but like I was being brought in as like a improving capability of lab and all of that. So
Yeah.
So like I had all the like necessary credentials, and they're like, he can do the lab stuff and learn the brewing part later. And like I knew it all in theory. I just hadn't like
Put into
I'd learned
practice.
it all.
Yeah.
I'd learned all of like the fundamentals of making alcohol after I had done that terrible extract brew in a bucket in our house, and there were 5 of us, and we knew nothing of temperature control, and we used baker's yeast instead of an actual brewing yeast, and we had the wrong malt profile, and it was all bad.
That's amazing.
We used tap water, so it had like chlorine in it. It's just a whole lot of
wrong. Just a lot of wrong.
Yeah, looking back on it, I'm like, man, I was an idiot. But like I should have Googled those things. That would have been the smart thing to do. And student Dargie was very science smart, but not very savvy smart.
Yes. I'm learning that.
Yeah.
So I see.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Always
I think we
Google.
all learn about ourselves
Yeah.
a lot. Every year I look back at myself like a year before, and I'm like, man, that guy was an idiot.
I know, right? I do the same thing, going, man, why the fuck did I do that for?
It's why I have no tattoos, because I know I'm 100% certain I would regret whatever I got a year before. Because every time I've had an idea and I'm like, that would be a cool idea for a tattoo. Maybe that could be my first tattoo. I look back and I'm like,
No.
yeah, that didn't age well. Game
Yeah.
of Thrones, yeah, probably would have instantly regretted that. So
I don't have any either. Pretty much the same reason. I think that was like an idea that I had for like maybe a year or two, but I never really wanted to get a tattoo because I'm like, what happens in like, when I'm 70 and I'm like, why do I have a tattoo on me? And now I look back now going, yeah, I'm really happy I didn't get that tattoo because I'm not 17. I still regret it already. So, yeah.
I mean, like, once you have it, right? Like, it doesn't matter what happens when you're 70. It's there. It ages like you do.
No,
It's
it looks like yucky and it goes wrinkly. It's like, ugh, and then they fade and then something go all droopy. Yuck.
I mean, I've never seen a droopy tattoo, but like faded ones just show like the reminders of your youth, right?
Yeah, I
And
don't like them.
on the same time, like maybe if you accept it's going to get wrinkly, get something like like a mouth or something that like change,
Yeah,
like
like
a
this,
face that can change, and then like roll with it, both
Yeah.
figuratively and literally, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick to no tattoos. That's
Yeah,
fair
that's
enough.
fair. I might get one eventually, but I just have to come up with an idea that I reckon is Dargie proof.
Yeah,
And
I remember my
that's
mum saying to us, like, if you want a tattoo, like, sit on it for a year, and if you still want it in a year, then get it. And, yeah, nothing's really gotten to that
nothing's
extent.
past that year hurdle.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
one got to, like, a 2-year hurdle, but I'm just like, yeah, now I don't really want it anymore. So I was like, good. I just get piercings instead. Yeah.
See, I haven't had any of those either.
Oh, I have heaps in my ears.
Hmm.
Ears are covered in piercings. I think I have, like, 6 each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I do. I have 6 each side.
That is, some would say, infinity% more than. I like them on other people. I don't think they would suit me.
No, that's fair
And,
enough.
like,
I totally get that. Because some people really suit tattoos, but on me, I'm just like, they just want to be very good. But some people look amazing with them. So I can respect that one.
No, fair enough.
So now you are with your beer company. What do you do?
So I am like essentially I'm a quality leader. Like I have my title, but in terms of like practice, I look after managing laboratory that's on site, which is a Harry Potter cupboard sized laboratory, but you do what you can because you must.
Wait, Harry Potter size? Does that mean like his bedroom?
There's the cupboard.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I forgot to add a very key word to that sentence.
Yeah, I was like,
and
do you
I
mean
just
he's
hoped
like
I
little...
could get away with it.
No, I pulled you up. Sorry.
Maybe you are now the quality leader.
Maybe.
You've basically got all the things that you need for it. So yeah, I do that. I set up on site, or I set up and now run the microbiology department. So before this department, it's just me. I do all the testing. I set up the capability. I did all of that. I set up beer sensory. So before I started, essentially, like they were tasting beers like whenever they felt like it, like when something interesting was coming through, rather than like the things that we do consistently.
Yeah.
And then they would like taste something like after it's been packaged and like in keg on site, like in the tap room essentially.
Oh, okay.
And so like there was no like quality control measures for like no one was tasting it from the point where well, not to say no one was tasting it, but it was not very often tasted from like when it was brewed at like important stages. We could add hops to something and dry hop it, and it could actually be incredibly terrible at that point and spoiled for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden we've just put thousands of dollars of hops into this brew and
Yeah,
made
right.
it more
Okay.
expensive, and we still can't.
So you pretty much want to test it first and then put the hops in, whatever that is. And then
so like
test again if
essentially
it's...
I just set up a process around like, okay, once it's 3 days into the ferment, maybe we taste it, make sure it's actually fermenting.
Yeah.
It's in a stainless steel tank. You can't see. You just have to take it on faith.
Yeah.
And then like then we dry hop it if it's a hopped beer, or don't if it's not. And then from there taste it when we chill it down, because like, okay, this is like representative of what it's going to look like before it gets filtered and like goes into a package and all of that. So maybe we taste it then, because like this is when we can fix it if something's wrong, or like we can pivot. So the good thing about one of the things I like about making beer is that if you do something wrong and it doesn't taste like, it still tastes good, it's just not the beer you expect it to be, you can just be like, all right, let's just chuck some different hops in it, maybe chuck in some fruit. Now it's a fruited IPA.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And you can just be like, cool, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. And mask some of the off flavors, and you can sell it under a new brand, like a new name.
A new one.
And put it in a keg, so you don't even have to make label artwork for it. And you're good. You send it out. It costs you like basically nothing to fix. And you're like, haha, people love this thing. I didn't even want to make that.
Would that be like a limited or a special edition or something? Because it was like an accident created?
Yeah. We've done it a couple of times since I've been there. Where it's like, because we have a range of we have our Brewers Reserve range, so we're quite lucky in that we have 2 like brew kits. We have like the big one, it's the powerhouse, it does 5,000 liters at a time. You can run that multiple times a day. So like we can make 20,000 liters of beer in a day on that kit.
Oh my gosh.
We then have a pilot kit, which is 1,200 liters. We essentially, you have an idea, you think this will make an interesting beer, or like there's a special event coming on and you want to make a brewer's reserve for that. You can book that out, or like we can book that out and say, okay, we're going to spend the day making something on this, the smaller brew kit. And it's quite nice in that because we have like enough sales volume through our main kit and our like main beers and things, we can then be like, okay, we don't have to make money on these brewers reserves because we're making money on everything else, and these are just for the clout, and we can make them because they're fun or they're interesting, or somebody will come in and try it and be like, that's really nice,
awesome.
and then maybe they try other things.
Yeah.
So my first commercial brew was I did a honey Pilsner. So I made, it's essentially like a crisp Pilsner. And then I substituted part of the malt bill with honey and tried to get sort of like a light, like a light spring, summer sort of like drink. You know, like have that, essentially. So it wasn't sweet, but it had that like floral, that like sweet undertones aroma, but it was like a really dry, clean beer. So something that like you would mow your lawns and be like, now to sit on the deck and like watch the kids play cricket and have one beer. Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you can do things like that, and that definitely made money because boy is honey expensive. I learned, even when you've got like wholesale rates.
Yeah, really.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it cost more than the equivalent amount in hops, and hops are pricey. Ask any home brewer; they are by far the most expensive part of making a beer.
Yeah, right.
We spend so like to make a 20,000 liter beer, and just in terms of like bittering hops, which are not that much. That's like half a bucket of hops for like some of our brews. We spend more in that half a bucket of hops than we do in the like thousands of kilograms of like wheat and barley and like just things that we put in the malt.
That's insane. Wow.
To put it in perspective, we spend about 50 cents a kilogram for like malt. For hops, upwards of $50, $60 a kilogram.
Holy dooly.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's like, it's surprising. And then like yeast. Yeast is also the really expensive thing. But the thing is you can like reuse yeast because you can take the like yeast reproduces because it's a living organism in the beer.
Yeah.
So like some of it falls to the bottom. You can literally just
and that's what we get Vegemite from.
Well, yeah, it's what you get Vegemite from. Literally from brewer's yeast. That's where
it is.
Comes from. Yeah.
Literally.
It's one of the ways to, instead of putting it down trade waste drain, you can just collect it and then sell it to someone, and that's a great way to make money if you make enough. We don't make enough yeast to do it, but mainstream breweries have like really large sort of volumes of yeast that I don't even think they would be able to dump effectively. Like,
really?
You would have to. Well, I mean, there are lots of different ways that you can use yeast, whether it's like making Vegemite or Marmite, or you can use it like dry it out and add it as like what's it called? There's like some people add it literally as a like dry it out and add it as flakes to meals to add nutrients.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because the thing is, it's like in fact, some people literally dry it out and like they will use it to make dog biscuits.
Oh yeah.
Like they'll add in other things, but like it's a whole lot of things.
Well, here we go. In Germany, we have an official beer law from the 18th century which states that the only valid ingredients are hop, malt, yeast, and water. But there is a growing craft beer scene since a while. Oh, and that's in Germany.
So it's that's the German beer purity law.
Yeah.
And I think on top of that, the hops are only allowed for bittering and only in certain styles. It's like, it's only in Germany, and it gets very, very, very complicated very quickly. So like, in New Zealand, we can chuck whatever we want in. We're like, yeah, throw in some coffee beans, whatever. Just chuck it in there. Want to throw in a whole lot of basil? Let me go forage for that, because there's no rules against it.
But Germany's really strict. So then, since all the change has been happening, is that why Germany now has like the beer festivals?
Though, I mean, they've had those for I was about to say yonks, but like centuries. You
Yeah,
know, like
right.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
That's like a traditional thing to them, and that comes around like I want to say Oktoberfest is based around like hop harvesting times.
Oh,
So,
okay.
well, the
Yeah,
thing is
there's a
back.
couple of
So,
mixed
like,
drinks.
yeah,
Be
nowadays we
stretch.
can harvest hops and crush them into pellets and like store them in nitrogen and like a frozen bag essentially,
Yeah, right.
and they are like they'll last for years. Like you don't want to use them after years if you're like really care about hop profiles because they're very volatile and they break down, but you can. Um, Back in the day, you had to essentially do what's called green hopping, which is where you can only hop beers when you actually pick them because they break, like they deteriorate so quickly. So
Yeah.
you would grow your hop vines, and you would literally the brewers would go out, pick them, and then like rush back to the brewery and chuck them in.
Oh,
And yeah,
that's pretty
so
cool. That's
hmm,
crazy. But now
yeah,
you can
and so
store
like
them and keep them for
now you can
longer.
store them. So green hopping is still like a thing. So in
Mm.
New Zealand, it would have happened. I think it only happened last week for the breweries that do it.
Oh,
But it is a pain in the ass because there are only like certain climates that grow hops well. They're very finicky. And so you in New Zealand, we have a place called Motueka, which grows most of them, and it's this tiny backwater town. And I drove through it once, and like everyone stared at me as I drove through the middle of this town.
really?
Um, yeah,
Awkward.
it was very awkward. I was like, I'm not gonna stop here.
I'll just keep on driving.
Yep. So, but yeah, so they most pretty much all New Zealand hops, or like the bulk of them, are grown there, and there are only 7 hop producers that make all the hops there.
Really?
Well, I mean that's a whole thing, and it's a whole like they call them the hop mafia. Apparently, they strong out any new people that try to grow it. It's a whole thing. I don't know enough about it. I just
Yeah,
know
fair.
that I drove through there once and I was like, never again. And so that's why I don't go on these green hopping adventures.
No, fair
And
enough.
also because it's a 10-hour drive from where I am. So maybe I don't bother driving 20 hours round trip to grab these hops.
So why did you get stared at? Like, is that because you're like an outsider and they're just like, who are you coming to our hot farms? Or like,
Probably. Maybe they looked at my car and they were like, don't recognize that car.
you're a bit
Who are you?
shady. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe they saw me and they were like, is that the second coming of Christ? So it could have been anything.
Is that the traveling Jesus?
Is
On the
this
go?
Jesus? He's got a car now?
Wow! Jesus upgraded.
Yeah.
Um,
Who needs to carry that cross all that way when you can just chuck it in the trunk?
so how often do you personally try the beer? Because obviously you get to
I
drink it,
mean,
right?
I try the beer at 9 a.m. every morning.
So what Finnick said earlier on, he's literally correct that essentially Dargie gets on the beer at 9 a.m. He
I
said
mean,
9 to 5, but I'm just
so
missing
like,
out the 5 to make it sound like it's 9 a.m. only.
yeah, getting on the beer isn't the best way to describe it because like when you're tasting, it's like tasting wine, right? Like you're not spitting it out because with beer you're supposed to like cover the like part of it is the bitterness and the aftertaste and drinking it
Okay.
down. There's a whole lot of like sensory stuff to it, but essentially you're only like 1 or 2 sips. So
Yeah.
like it's the whole thing of like swirling the beer, taking in the aroma, and then being
You're
like,
having a bit of a
it
sniff.
smells like this. Yeah, essentially. And like doing that real fancy swirl that winemakers and brewers do.
Yeah, I've
You
seen
know,
the
the
bit
one
of a
that's like
swell
too
and it's like,
perfect. And
yeah.
then other people try to do it and they like splash some out and they're like, no, my white capris, I can't believe I've done this. And you're like, should have been practicing this for months like I did.
Yes.
But yeah, so like you're looking for different things like you're not drinking for the sake of drinking. You're literally sipping to like understand the flavor profile and be like, okay, these are the good things. If there are any off notes, these are the off notes, and how do we fix it? So like, and if I'm doing like 8 beers, I'll have like maybe a half of like a tiny glass all up,
How do
and that's
you like cleanse your palate between each one? Because if you have one, do you go straight to the next one? Wouldn't that be
uh
like compromised from the first one?
yeah. So they're in all So if you've ever been for like a wine tasting and like
No,
it's
I'm such
like
a
you don't
loser.
pick which wines. Well, I mean, like if you haven't, then essentially what happens is they like the good places will be like, no, this is the order that you're tasting in. And the reason that the
Okay.
order is there is you're tasting from like most delicate and lightest to heaviest in terms of flavor.
Uh-huh.
So, like, if you're doing beer, you'll start with like your lagers or like things like or like light ales. So like clear beers, crisp, not too harsh of a flavor profile. You'll slowly work your way to darker beers because they tend to be more roasty, heavier, sweeter. Those are the ones that will overpower the flavors of the previous ones.
Yeah, right. Okay.
If you were doing a whole lot of tastings of the same style, so let's say you're at a beer judging competition like I had to do recently with home brewing, which was a
Ooh.
terrible, terrible.
Oh.
Oh, don't get me started. Um,
Okay.
it's
Next
the problem with
podcast.
homebrewers is they don't have temperature control, so every single beer had the same off notes. And when you taste like
Oh.
100 beers and all of them are wrong in the exact same way, it can be harsh.
At
And
least they're
then that's like,
consistently wrong.
well, I mean, do you want to taste something that you know is going to be consistently terrible to you
No.
repeatedly? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like there were some interesting ones. I didn't get to taste the best of show, but all the ones I judged had the same off flavor. But anyway, if you were to taste a whole lot of beers of the same style, you'll have something to cleanse palate in the middle. So, like, because I'm generally not doing that, I'll just drink water between each beer,
Fair
like
enough.
to wash off the flavor and like just to stay hydrated, because you need 6 molecules of water to break down 1 molecule of alcohol.
Ah, true.
So yeah, every time you finish a glass of wine or a beer, just drink a glass of water. Pee a lot. Uh, so
Yeah, I
if
really
I was
should
doing a
listen
whole
to that
lot,
sometimes.
yeah, I would like you have bread or you have like water crackers or whatever, like wafer crackers, just something
Yeah.
with not a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
It's just what you do. Standard
That's true. And
practice.
probably no hangover. That's right.
I mean,
To a certain
no
extent.
hangover is it's pretty nice. I like waking up in the morning and not wanting to die. That's
Yeah.
just been something that I've tried to achieve most days of my life. Sometimes I fail. Most days I succeed.
So being a beer drinker, what would be like your favorite beer? What's your go-to beer?
My
Outside of the
go-to beer.
company, and then what do you enjoy in your company?
Well, I mean,
If
the
that's
thing
even
is, if you
possible.
work for like, so I don't have like a favorite style of beer, but I have like two schools of thought. I like simple done really well. So like, if there's like a lager or a stout or anywhere on the spectrum, and I taste it and I'm like, this is just a solid representation of what this beer is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like I taste this and I'm like, this is Pilsner. Then like that, I like that.
Okay.
And that's just because, like, I know the style guides. Like,
Yeah.
it's refreshing and nice to not see someone, like, I guess, like, have pride come in the way of, like, what this beer should be. Or, like see someone that understands why this beer is this beer.
Yeah.
Or this wine or whatever it is. And they make it to that style and they want to do a solid job. And that's, like, it's a technical masterpiece, right? It's like seeing someone take a really nice photograph of something. Like you
Yeah.
just see the right angle, it's good.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I also like things that really push the envelope. So I like things that are like crazy but work. So like I tasted a strawberry wit beer that was partially soured and had
Wait.
lactose added to it.
What's a wet
And
beer?
wet beer. It's essentially a wheat beer.
Oh, wheat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
They meant
so
like a
like
wet and a dry. I'm like, there's a dry beer? Like,
I mean, there are dry beers.
just
Dry
like the whole
is
condiments of. Yeah, don't. We won't go into that
dry
one.
in alcohol means like sugar content. So like a dry
Oh,
wine
okay.
is like basically no sugar, or it's pretty much gone. So like wine and beer,
Ooh.
for the most part, like generally they could be considered sugar free. Like in a red wine, you'll have like less than a gram per liter of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Cool.
It depends on the wine. Like, But yeah, so you have like dry, and then you have off dry, which is sweeter, and then you have sweet, and then blah de blah.
Yeah, right. So you like the wet wine, which is pretty much a wheat wine. Sorry,
Well,
beer,
wit beer.
beer, beer.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so it was like because a wit beer is like generally speaking, it's like I mean, it's wheaty. It's like hazy. It's like kind of banana-y traditionally, and that's like there's clove characteristics which all come from the yeast, and like that's what it is. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, I go to Canada and I tried this crazy beer where the brewer was like, "I'm gonna throw strawberries in this, and then let's chuck some lactose in it, and I'm gonna make some of it sour for some reason, but not all of it." And I tried it,
Wow.
and I was like, "This is so stupid," and for some reason, it works, and
Wow. And
like
you
I
enjoyed
love
it.
it. And I love things where like I can just imagine the brewer being like a manic and being like, I don't have enough of this. Let me just let me just chuck some rhubarb in there, sure. And yeah, okay, traditional hops. Oh, I don't have enough. Okay, New World hops. Yeah. And then and maybe he's like frisbeeing them from across the room. I don't know. But it's just like I love the idea of like innovation, and that's what I try to do whenever I'm brewing or winemaking is I want to push like myself but also like people's expectations of things. And
Yep.
so one of the very few things I didn't like about the wine industry was that it was extremely steeped in tradition. And so you use French oak for like aging French varieties, and you do this for this amount of time, and like you only do these things essentially, and people are not interested for the most part in trying anything new.
Oh, really? That's
And
yeah.
so, like when in my last harvest, there was like 150 kg of Sauvignon Blanc grapes, which is New Zealand's like it makes up like 70 something percent of like all the wine made in New Zealand is
Oh,
Sauvignon Blanc.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our big money maker. 'Cause it's what we're known for in the wine world.
Yeah.
I was like, we have these white grapes. We make a port. I know how to make port. What if we take it and we make a white port and do it as like a small run? And no one else was on board. Like
Oh.
the only people that were on board were like the cellar hands who do all the practical work who knew nothing or very little about the winemaking of it. And so like they had no vested interest in like traditionalism.
So maybe this is why they wanted to get rid of you to the beer company.
Oh, no, like
I'm kidding.
yeah, no, I know what you mean. But yeah, I was like, fine, you guys don't want to do it, I'll do it by myself. And
So
I'll make my own white port with
you know
like
how
Jack and
like
hookers.
wine people kind of have like the stigma of like they're kind of like snobby and stuck up ish. Is that would that kind of go
I
with
mean,
these people who don't really want to experiment and try new things and are stuck in their
no,
ways or anything? No,
no. So like, I
just a
think
stigma.
yeah, it's just a stigma. Like you run into those people. Like you run into them with everything, right?
Yeah.
But like, wine probably has a greater proportion of them than in a lot of things. Any artisanal sort of thing like cheese brewing, you have the exact same thing.
Fair enough.
I think it's just a lot of people caught up in pride, and especially with something where you're making something like that with like these award ceremonies, and like there's like there's a lot of clout to the things that you do. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of people have the tendency to like make things and be like, I make the best beer, and really they make the beer that they like or the wine that they like. It's
Yeah.
just that it's like it's the best to them, but nobody else. But you know, like confidence goes a long way.
Yeah. They're kind of like biased against their own stuff as well.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to divorce yourself from like I made this and I made it the way I want it to be. And then somebody
Yeah.
tastes it and they're like, oh, this is terrible. Why have you done this to my taste buds? And you're like, well, I like it. So
I like it. That's
meh.
all that matters. So
Yeah,
if you were to
exactly.
go to a bottle-o,
Mm.
what beer would you go to pick up? What's the most
Uh,
likely one that you'd pick off the shelf at a generic
Am I
bottle
going
shop?
to like a party or something like a house party? 'Cause
Let's go one for the house party and one for just chilling at home.
I mean, I never drink at home. I've never come home and cracked a beer or had a wine or anything
Well, then
by myself.
if you're not going to a house party, why else do you need to go to the bottler to get a beer?
Exactly. But like in this
So-
hypothetical situation, if I was to have something by myself, I would go for something like interesting. So I would go for like maybe a hazy IPA or something.
Okay.
And look or like something sour. Something that I don't feel like I would get like one can of like different things essentially
Yeah.
and be like, I'm gonna try a few different things, and that way, then if I don't like something, then maybe that goes accidentally falls down the sink, and I try a different thing. If
Fair
I
enough.
was going to a party, I would get something like a Hoegaarden or,
Oh
um,
yeah, I've heard of that.
yeah, Hoegaarden's a really nice beer actually.
Hmm.
It's a wheat beer, so you know, worth trying out. It's very easy drinking. Um, Yeah, or like I wouldn't go and get like a I wouldn't go and get something hefty for that. It would be like something that I could easily like stand there and sip and like
Yeah.
something just to hold and drink like while somebody is talking to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I find I do that with drinks, just to have something in my hand, like it feels like it's being used.
People come up to you if you're
Yes.
not holding something and they're like, "Why
Do you
aren't
need
you
a
drinking?"
drink?
Yeah,
Wow.
and it doesn't matter what it is. Like if you're holding an energy drink, people don't care. If you're holding a bottle of Coke, again, people don't care.
This
As
is true.
soon as you're not holding something, they're like, "What
Why
is
is there
wrong
nothing in
with
your
you?"
hands? Why are your hands
Yeah.
empty? And it's like,
How dare you come to this household and not hold a beverage? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
good point. Good point.
Mm.
Yeah, right. Wow. You've had a very exciting like career from like yogurt to wine to beer. That's awesome.
It's just the classical, the age old. I was made yogurt and then I made wine and then I made beer. And who knows? Next I might distill things or I might make kombucha. I've done that a few times at home.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah,
I don't
it's
like that
really easy.
stuff.
You know, the good thing
But
about
I
making
think
it
it's pretty
home is
cool.
you can make it exactly how you like it. And it's
Yeah.
really simple.
Isn't how do
Hmm.
you make it?
Well, so
Simple, he
I'm gonna
says.
put
You listen
down
to
my cup
this.
for this one. So
Okay.
with kombucha, kombucha is fermented tea, right?
Yep.
So you make tea. I would recommend using black tea because that doesn't have all the like antimicrobial properties of green tea, and green tea will kill off a lot of stuff, and you'll have less like. Don't use green tea, is what I'm getting at. Black tea,
No green
make
tea.
a big amount of it.
Okay.
I would say add maybe like maybe like somewhere between a third to two-thirds of a cup of sugar per
Yeah.
liter of tea.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then you get what's called a SCOBY. And a SCOBY is an acronym that it's essentially what a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And
Okay.
essentially what it is you have a whole lot of different well a whole lot of different bacteria strains. So you have like acetic acid bacteria, which is what makes vinegar. Um, and you have lactic acid bacteria, which is what makes yogurt. And also you have Brettanomyces in it, and that's what makes certain sour beers.
Hmm.
And those all live together in this really gross looking, big, floppy, circular disc that just floats on the top of the liquid. And
Finnick just said this gross looking skin disc thingy.
yeah, essentially, he gets it.
Now I know what you're
And
talking about.
and essentially like that floats on the top and it ferments everything, and like it's like essentially you make the tea with the sugar and you put the SCOBY in and it'll float to the top and you just cover it so stuff doesn't fall in it, and
Hmm.
then you literally just put it like in a hot water cupboard or like in
A hot
somewhere
water
that'll remain
cupboard.
warm, somewhere
Okay.
that will remain like consistently warm for like
Right.
uh I would say like 2 weeks or like a week and a half. Start like taste it every day. And then as soon as you think it's sour enough, you take that out, you take the SCOBY out, you put that in a new thing so that it can keep fermenting. So
Mm-hmm.
new tea, new sugar. And you put everything that you want in bottles and you just put it in the fridge.
And that's
and
it.
it stops it fermenting. Well, it'll ferment a little bit in the fridge, and it'll like become sparkling. So like it'll have bubbles,
Yeah.
and that's it. You're done. If you want to, add fruit. Make sure to
Wow.
burp it every so often in the bottle so that they don't explode. Because
Wait, what
like,
does
nobody
burping
wants
it
to.
mean?
So generally speaking, with kombucha, you want to get like swing top bottles, right? And burping it is just like let out the pressurized air in there,
Ah, yeah. Okay. Cool.
because otherwise, high pressure glass.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Enough said. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yep.
pretty cool.
So easy.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be cool to give it a try, but I don't think so.
If you don't like, because the good thing again about making it yourself, because the problem with like the supermarket is they make it one way, right?
Yeah.
And they're all when you're making things for like sale, you want like maybe you want to make it one way, but the problem is you're sort of beholden to what the mass general public likes.
Yeah.
And so say you're going to the supermarket, say you're somebody else, maybe their name is Princess Trick, and they go to the supermarket and they're like, I feel like a kombucha, and they buy Princess Flick's amazing brand new kombucha, fresh out of the kombuchery. I don't know what the actual term is for that.
Computery sounds like a good word. Let's make it up.
I've coined it. It's mine now.
Yeah.
And you have made something crazy, and like it's not actually that sour, and it's very sweet. And they taste it, and they're like, "There, I wanted a kombucha like every other kombucha on the market. How dare you? You've ruined my life." And that's the problem: is that people, they want what they expect, and so you're stuck to making that.
Yeah. I totally get
So,
that.
whereas when you're making it at home, who cares what
Tastes
your
like.
neighbor Princess Trick, who happens to share a very similar name to you, but you don't know that they just live next door, and you've never met them because that's just modern day
Complete
neighborhoods.
stranger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
What she thinks, because she lives over the fence. She only has to worry about her kombucha. You're drinking yours.
The grass isn't always green on the other side. Yep. No, yeah, cool, that's fair
Sometimes
enough.
it's brown because they haven't watered it.
Exactly. See, you know what's up, Dargie.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So, before we end up finishing up on here, apart from games and your awesome career with all your work, what else has Dargie done? Like, you've traveled a bit. Where have you traveled to?
I traveled to Vietnam,
Oh, yeah.
to England,
Yep.
to Morocco,
Oh, wow.
to Spain,
Oh, I
to
love Spain.
Canada,
Yep.
to the United States.
Yeah, crazy.
I ran across Singapore airport in a rush.
How good is Singapore airport? I've never been there, and I'm dying to go there.
Well, to say.
Well, I guess you ran. Yeah, you ran
Well,
across it.
Okay, so I had what was supposed to be a 2-hour layover in Singapore airport, flying out of Vietnam on the way to London. And I was like, this will be great. I had heard amazing things, which apparently you've heard too.
Yes.
And I was like, I heard essentially that you could spend like a week in Singapore airport and have like a pretty good holiday, having never actually entered Singapore.
Yep, I've heard the exact same thing. Yep.
So I was like, this is going to be cool. I'm going to get to like have a look around. This will be nice. My flight out of Vietnam was delayed by 2 hours.
Oh, fuck.
Good thing is, because I was traveling carry-on only, I had all of my belongings with me, so it was easy. I didn't have to worry about bags.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But as I was walking off of the plane, I heard the very first boarding call for my flight flying out of Singapore.
Sorry.
So anyone that's been to the Singapore airport, it's essentially they have like A, B, C, D, E, I think are all the airport terminals.
Mm-hmm.
I was at A23, which is literally the very end. Like that's as far as you could go that way. That's the last one.
Yeah.
I was like, A23, my flight is flying out of C8.
Oh,
sure,
damn.
That's easy enough. Like that
It's just
can't be
ABC.
too far away.
Yeah.
I start walking. I get like I want to say it's like 100 meters. Nah, it's not 100 meters. That's too far. Like 75 meters. I hit the next terminal, and it's A22, and I was like, I keep walking. Another, the exact same distance again, A21. They have security at each individual, like boarding area, rather than like security and then you go through and you're in the shopping area.
Yeah.
So the entire
Oh,
airport is very
no.
spread out because of all of these things. After getting past 2 gates, I was like, this is a lot further than I thought it was going to be. I need to run. And so I started sprinting.
Oh,
and I
shit.
sprinted for a solid, I want to say 25 minutes, I think it was. And non-stop, didn't stop, with my pack, all my belongings. It was about 9 kgs. All the way across this airport in my jeans and a business shirt.
Oh my gosh.
I ran past multiple full-size shopping malls. I ran past a game show. I'm pretty sure I ran past a butterfly sanctuary.
Yes, you did.
I think I remember saying, yep. I ran past. I just kept running.
You probably would have seen a waterfall.
Yeah.
There's like cafes. There's a movie cinema. Like
a lot of stuff was a blur. That was the longest amount of time I had ever run at that speed consistently.
Oh my gosh.
It was, but so.
Because he couldn't, Fenny. Fenny just said, why didn't you just chill out in the airport and walk across the oceans home? Because he was going to miss his flight. He wasn't going home. You're going from Vietnam to... Where are we flying to? Vietnam.
London.
To London. Like, oh my goodness. Continue.
Anyway,
that's insane.
Run across this. There are like 3 people left in the line when I get there. I sit down. Flight takes off. That's fine. Months later, I come back to New Zealand. I'm back at my job that I'm working with. The co-worker that had told me all these amazing stories about the Singapore airport, because she had been to Singapore multiple times.
Yep.
She was like, what did you think of Singapore airport? And I was like, I didn't get to see it. And she was like, why didn't you get to see it? And I explained my story and how I ran. And she was like, why don't you take the train? I was like, what train? Turns out, every 5 minutes, there is a tram that runs the entire length of this airport. And it takes you like 2 to 3 minutes to get from A to C.
I forgot about the train.
Because I was running, I never saw the tram. I could have trammed over to my flight. I could have gone into one of the I don't know, Gucci stores, or like gone and look at the... I'm pretty sure I saw a car dealership in there. Who flies into an airport and buys a car?
Singapore airport. How long would the train have been from like your gate to the next gate, do you reckon?
Maybe like 5 minutes max.
So you pretty much had like 20 minutes to try and go to different places.
Oh yeah, it would have been so easy. I mean, I would have gone to my flight directly anyway, but I wouldn't have had to sprint. I was significantly fitter then because I wasn't having to drink beer every day. It was, that was something to find out like 6 months later. Like,
a lot of the big airports do have like trains. I know Kuala Lumpur has trains. Dubai airport has trains. Texas or Dallas airport. I don't know. Some airport in Texas has trains. Yeah, like they're freaking huge. I think Sydney even has trains.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think I'm lying with that one.
We're not that fancy.
New York has a cool train. Yeah.
Although the thing that I learned to really appreciate was like the London Underground and just the underground like train systems. Very convenient.
Yeah.
So convenient.
I've heard they're really good. New York's subway isn't too bad either. Not as good as London, but yeah, they're amazing.
If it gets you from point A to point B, that's great. Compared to here, where you wait 45 minutes for a bus.
Yeah.
And then the bus takes you like a 20-minute walk from where you need to be.
You pretty much can't even get a bus from my area. Like you can walk like maybe like 20 minutes to a bus stop and then catch a bus and spend like an hour to get into town when you can just like drive there in 20 minutes.
That would be...
It's crazy.
Yeah. The good thing is like I like walking, so that's easy enough. Don't like sprinting though.
No, I can agree with you on that one. I don't like sprinting either. I don't really like walking either.
Really? I love walking.
No.
It gives me time to just hum away to myself like a crazy man.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I have been caught like singing, like humming or clicking my fingers to myself, walking in the hallway by myself at work.
People
Yes.
know where I am in the brewery because they can hear me like whistling or humming, and so they just follow that. But we also have like a restaurant and tap room, and so like people in the restaurant and tap room must just like hear me like humming to myself as I'm walking along on the second story
Yeah,
because it's
right.
like a pathway that's open on one
Or like a
side to the
mezzanine
restaurant.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's cool. Sydney does not have trains in the airport. Chad is telling
Hmm.
me. But
Ah.
they're telling me that Melbourne has a good train system. Melbourne has good trains, good enough anyways. Over the next few years, it's gonna be linked to the airport. Yeah, so
Hmm.
Melbourne has a very good like transport system, like in Melbourne itself, but nothing to do with the airport. Sydney has a terrible transport system
Hmm.
and nothing in the
See, I've
airport.
been to Melbourne once, but I don't remember it that well. I was there when I
You
was
should
18
go again.
for like 3 days. I remember having fun, but like it was my first trip overseas. It was also my first trip on a plane.
When's the bubble
Um,
opening up?
I think they were making announcements next month.
She should like try and get like Blaze and you and stuff and come to PAX, a gaming
I was
convention.
considering going to PAX, but
Yeah.
it would have to depend on a whole lot of things.
Well, I mean work and the travel bubble. If you can't
I have
travel.
more leave than is humanly possible at this point.
Oh wow.
Oh, I work 6 days, so I'm owed a whole lot of hours back
Yeah,
because I'm
true.
actually, yeah,
Over hours.
yes, I love my job too much.
Yeah, he likes drinking beer at 9 o'clock in the morning too much.
You know, I really like it's. People are like, that must be the best part of the job. It's really not, because like, imagine having to like drink like an incredibly hoppy IPA with like 7.5% alcohol at 9 in the morning.
Yeah, I don't think I could. Like I'm just thinking if I had to like drink my energy drink it every single morning at like 9 a.m. I'd be
Hmm.
like, kind of over it now.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
not.
coffee, fine. Like
No,
waking
not
up and being
coffee.
like, oh, I have to drink 4 of this IPA, and each one tastes kind of like licking the sap of a pine tree. It's just
Yuck.
like you don't look forward to it. You never look forward to it. Or like an
Yeah.
incredibly hefty stout. Or when we did a barley wine, and I'm like, cool, this is 13% alcohol, and it tastes just
Does that have
like
to be really
malt.
sweet? Oh, fair
No.
enough. What would be your favorite bit about your job?
My favorite bit about my job.
Yeah.
My favorite bit is that so I'm essentially given free reign to work on the things that I feel needs to be worked on.
Mm-hmm.
So like I manage projects across like quality and everything, and essentially like I guess I've proved myself enough with my boss that like the leadership team that they're like, we just trust that whatever you're working on is the right decision. So I can come into work and do the things that like need to be done because, you know, somebody's got to do the sensory stuff and plate the micro, and I'm the only one with those skills.
Yeah.
And then after that, they'll like just do like improve stuff however you feel, and we'll
Fair
support you.
enough. Yeah.
And so like I love having that trust that they just trust that I'm going to make the right decision at any moment in time. And like
That's
I
cool.
never like no matter what, I run everything by them anyway. But it's nice knowing that they're just like, we're not going to sit there and be like, what have you been doing today?
Yeah.
We haven't seen you for 6 hours because I've been at offsite meetings or whatever. They're just like, he's doing Dargie things, and
He's just
I'm
being
sure we'll see
Dargie.
what that means soon. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really good actually. That would be nice to have like the trust and the faith and the support
Yeah,
from
or I can
your
sit there for like
managers.
3 days in a row, just like creating a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and nobody's being like, "Why are you doing this? You could be doing that." And then at the end, I can be like, "Look, we're tracking everything through this," and
Yeah.
now presents all this information. And they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't think about that."
Yeah, that's fancy. Fancy
Yes, I
doggy.
do like a good spreadsheet.
Yeah. That's cool.
Hmm.
Well, doggy. Actually, what social media do you have? You have Twitch, obviously.
Yes, I have Twitch. I
Surprise!
have a Twitter. I don't like Twitter all that much, so
Neither do
I
I.
basically never use it.
Yeah, I've stopped too.
I have Instagram.
Yeah?
Again, basically never use it, but it's there if you want to look at pictures of me dressed like this in the snow. Or like pictures of my time in winemaking.
Could you start putting pictures of your beer stuff on there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could take a whole lot of pictures of stuff. It's just like I like living in the moment. I don't like
Yeah.
having standing there and taking photographs of it. It feels very disconnected.
No, fair enough.
So like I do a lot of landscape photography, which is why I got this camera that I use for streaming.
Right.
Um,
Cool.
is because it was initially for going out and taking photos of
The
bays and
landscapes.
on hikes and taking pictures of seals
Because you
and
actually do a
things.
lot of, or you, not a lot of, but you do go on hikes and stuff. Because I
I go
actually
on a lot of
stalked
day
you.
hikes.
I stalked you the other day.
Oh yeah.
Well, I had to. I had to find something out about you. And you recently, well, not recently, went to some beaches
Yeah. So
and got some nice
so the good thing
photos.
about New Zealand is that you're always close to the beach wherever you live,
True.
and the place casual stalking exactly. Um, and I so where I live is quite cool in that we have essentially a peninsula that has a lot of wildlife on it, like seals and sea
Oh
lions,
wow.
and we have like yellow-eyed penguins, which are incredibly endangered, and I got to
Oh,
see a few of them in real life, and it was very cool.
that's pretty awesome.
Um, there's only like a couple of hundred left, and
Yeah.
they basically all live down here. The only forest-dwelling penguin.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Is there like a
And
sanctuary for them to try and like
yeah, so
breed them
there's
and keep them and
sanctuary
stuff?
everywhere where they live is like protected land, so you can only go there with like special groups.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And you
Right.
can only see them at like sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
So like you either have to be there at like 4 to 5 a.m. in a hut because they won't come out and like go out to the ocean in the day, and they won't come back from the ocean at night if they see anyone or anything on the beach.
Oh
So you
wow.
have to like stay in a like a blind essentially, and like they it's so funny what because the thing is that they climb hills to get back into this ocean, but
Yeah.
the penguins and they're fat, so they have to take a break every like 5 meters. And so once one comes out of the ocean, you have to just sit in this place for like 2 hours and watch it like in an hour move like 30 meters, and then they start like climbing a hill like a goat. It's a whole thing.
That sounds really cool, but I just don't know if I can sit still long enough.
Yeah, yeah, it is quite a test of patience.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really
but yeah,
awesome.
so it's cool being able to go out and do that, and also the Otago Peninsula is really cool in that there's just trails all over it to walk, and
Yeah.
so it's very easy. Like I live in a very nicely scenic area, so it's very easy to go out and just like walk that direction, and I can hit a trail and take that and go up a hill, or I can go to the Botanic Gardens, which are like a 25-minute
Sounds
walk from my
nice.
house. Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I can
Oh,
go get a bagel because
why not?
that's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been doing like photography stuff? Like, is that something you've done
Uh,
for a while and been learning and getting better, or is that just an interest that you have?
so I bought this camera, which is my camera for everything. When I at the very beginning of lockdown, so
Okay. Yep.
March, April.
Something
Um,
last year. Yep.
yeah, and then I was like, well, want to do a whole lot of landscape photography and learn a new skill because I like learning things.
Yeah. We've been through that.
And then yeah, exactly.
Master of all. No.
Circle back around, right
What is
back to the
it?
beginning.
Master of nothing but knowledge of all. I don't know what I said anymore. It was catchy back
I was
then.
a yeah. I mean, I like to think of it as I'm a Dargie of all trades. Um,
That's the one.
but yeah, so got that for that, and that's sort of when I've been learning, and I've been getting better. So that photo that's on the screen of me down
There.
here
Yeah.
is I had to think about that for longer than
Now you can see why
I'm
my
proud of.
intros are like, this way.
Well, I'm backwards on your side, and then I'm a different way here, and then I'm a different way on the camera. So it's a whole thing.
It is.
I have to look at it and be like, which one?
Which way am I going?
I'm on every screen multiple times. And so, yeah. I was like, I've forgotten what I was saying.
That picture is a picture you recently took, and it's going to be with your
Yes.
new camera and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm teaching myself how to do photography. So when I bought this camera, I bought a landscape photography lens and a portrait lens, and I was like, those are the two main things that I'll do. Which that's sort of how you go. And so I've done a lot of landscape photography, and after Fennec complained so much that I needed to change my photo, I was like, you know what, I will do, I'll like try and learn to take photos of myself. And something I learned, which is really annoying, is I have 2 tripods. I've got one for the light, I've got one for this. And it turns out that neither of them are as tall as I am at their full height. So in order to take that photo, I am squatting really hard. Because though that is the life of being 6'4", is that nothing is made for your height, and every mirror in every house that's fixed to a wall, you can't see the top of your head. So I see here, I have to be like, if I want to see myself, or if I do my hats. So I have a routine.
Yes, you do
on
your
my channel
hats.
for double hats, and say I put on a hat. I'm already reclined. This is a lounge chair. If I want to wear 2 hats, oh look, now I have to game so that people can see the hats like this, and now I can't see the top of the screen, and life is tough, and I can't believe I've done this to myself. And this is the problem with being tall. If I was smaller, life would be great. I would be able to see things on the bottom shelf of the supermarket. I wouldn't hit my head on every doorway in Morocco. And when I say every doorway, I mean every doorway. And I would just... life would be so simple.
I feel like the hat situation, being short or tall, isn't going to make a difference on stream.
You would be surprised.
Because it's just
I have
like
a long
just camera.
torso, okay?
No,
I
just
am
move
a
your
long
camera.
torso man.
But you can just move the
Well,
camera.
You see, the thing is, this is all a facade behind me. And that if I move the camera even a millimeter on this side, you can see the wall behind me.
Is that your wall that fell down when you first moved into the house? You had to fix it?
Yeah, so that's not actually... well, so initially all of that stuff was on the wall. Like taped to the wall. Didn't work. And then I got a whole lot of pallet layer boards from work. And I say a whole lot, I mean one. And I double-sided taped that to the wall, and that worked. And then I glued these onto the layer board. So now they stay up. But
Because
the
they're on a
thing is
pallet
that,
board.
yeah, I only have 4 grey, and so you can't see the bottom ones because my camera used to be at a higher angle. You could, and so like I can't move the camera any more that direction, or else you'll see past it. It won't look like a full studio. You'll see behind the magician's curtain.
That's
and nobody needs
amazing. That is so good.
It's all an illusion. It's all a facade.
He's in really a
It's
fake room.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Look over here. Boom. My coffee cup is actually in neither of these hands.
Look, Mum, no hands. Yeah. So instead of having a green screen, you just have like a fake background.
Well, I mean, it's a real background.
Well, it's real. It's just like
really
just big.
not much of it. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were so tall. You are like huge.
No one. I mean, to be fair, the only times you've ever seen me, I'm sitting down. So
No, I did see your pants fall down once when you were fixing your wall that fell down.
You know, I don't like to talk about that. And they didn't.
We just did.
Look, you can see that much.
They didn't
of
fall down.
The waistband of my underwear. Okay, you couldn't even tell that underwear was bright orange. I'm just saying.
If no one said it, I wouldn't have noticed it.
Exactly.
It's literally because Yum or Fennec was like spamming in the chat. I'm like, I'll go watch.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like something they would do.
Yeah. It's funny because everyone thinks that I'm really tall or that I'm taller than what I am, and then they meet me and they're like, "Wow, you're really short." I'm like, "Yes."
Because
yes,
you're
I
what,
am.
7'2"?
No, I'm 5'3".
5'3"? Wait, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
There was no plumber's crack, by the way. It was literally just, you could see that much of my waistband of my underwear, and they were like, "Your pants have fallen down. Pull your pants up, you degenerate." And honestly, it's like, if I was wearing these pants instead of my one pair of fat pants, that was my mistake, was wearing something comfortable.
Fennec, you're more than welcome to go find and link in the chat. Just saying.
Please don't encourage him.
No, he means do encourage him.
He doesn't.
This is just for the chat, not for YouTube. So YouTube, if you're watching us on here, I apologize. You missed out. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's on it. Cool, excellent. He's got us covered.
Oh god. Yeah.
5'4" on a good day. I do have like these runners, and these runners do have like a bit of like height on them, so I do feel quite tall in them, and I kind of like feel like wow, this is what like a tall person feels like. It's all of like what 2 centimeters, but it makes a big difference when you're
I mean,
used to
that
being short.
2.5 centimeters is an inch. So there you go.
True.
You're 5'4" then.
Yes.
And on top of that, when I wear my running shoes, I also gain an inch in height, and I feel like a giant then.
My goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I hit my head walking out of the shower a lot of times.
Oh my gosh. I never have that issue.
You
I
know,
have an
actually,
issue
one of the
jumping to
things
try
that
and get
people-
chips out of the cupboard.
Yeah, all my top shelves. So, when I first moved to Blenheim, I had my girlfriend. We lived together when I moved down there. And she was like, "You're in charge of unpacking the kitchen. I'll do the bedroom." And I was like, "Cool.
Okay.
Above our oven and like stovetop and sink and bench was this shelf that ran at about my head height, or a little bit over my head height. And I was like, cool, this is perfect. I can put everything up there. So I put the like oils and stuff above the oven, and I put all the like cleaning stuff above the sink, and it looked great and it was very practical. And then my girlfriend came in and she was like, "What have you done?" And I was like, "It looks nice, doesn't it?" And she was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "But watch this." She had like that much distance left before she could reach any of them. And she was like, "How am I supposed to cook?" And I was like,
Guess Dargie's now the cook.
yeah. I mean, I like cooking, but it was just, I was just like, oh, didn't think about that. You don't think
Yeah.
about it.
No,
Nobody
you don't.
I mean, nobody thinks about like tall people problems either, right? Like
Correct.
any shower I get in, shower head's too low.
Yep.
Yep.
Very true.
I can't wash my hair effectively. I have to sit on the ground and like get my hair wet and then stand up and shampoo it. Yeah, fire a step ladder. I considered that.
You're not the
I didn't
only
make
tall
that joke
person I
out
know.
loud.
I know like a few male streamers that are like really tall. Ghost in the Machine, he's another really tall streamer. I think he's like the same height as you. And there's another one, and he's also really tall. And I never thought they were tall until I met them. Just like, holy shit, hi.
You're like,
I'm like,
"Hi,
hello.
I can't look up high enough.
It's really bright up there.
My neck.
Oh, chiropractor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same
Wow.
way where like you go to meet somebody new that you haven't met in person before, that you've like met online, and I'm standing there, I'm like, where are they? And they're like, I'm down here.
You're like, oh,
So
hi.
I've become the de facto meeting person if like I go out with friends somewhere and they just are like, you just wear like a brightly colored hat and we'll all meet on you if anyone's lost.
Oh, I understand. That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
What, wear
Is
a
that-
brightly colored hat?
Well, I know you do on stream, but you do that in real life? Like, is that something you guys actually... Yeah, cool, fair enough. Okay, he does.
I mean, I made this hat to wear, so
That works.
Hmm.
By the
And
way,
then I
you are now known as the booty streamer.
yeah. Oh god, hashtag not a booty streamer. And then I have the bright green beanie as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I like
So
that one.
you know, and I also they just have to look for the Messiah, I guess. They're like, where is Jesus of Nazareth? And then they spot me and they're like, cool, go to him.
Where is the traveling Jesus?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Well, Dargie, thanks for chatting today.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah. I'm going to link your links down below when I put it on YouTube. It's meant to be out tomorrow, being Friday. I don't know if we'll make it up there tomorrow because I'm working and it's getting late. But
Oh.
yeah, guys, go follow Dargie at twitch.tv/Dargie1. Down the bottom in YouTube, I'll also put his Instagram and his Twitter that he never uses, but hey, a follow's a follow, so go follow him.
Yeah, if you're, you know, you can come look at all the stuff that I don't put on there. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll use it someday. That could be a future thing. Who knows?
Maybe we all follow him. He might start posting stuff on Instagram.
Yeah. You know what?
Maybe?
Because of this, I'm gonna make a coffee cake on the weekend. I'll post a picture of the coffee cake. How's
I
that?
thought you said a copy cake. I'm like, what's a copy cake? But you meant a coffee cake.
Yeah, it's a copy of the coffee cake that I
a
made.
copy of the coffee cake. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, gonna reinvent it. Excellent. Yeah, and also let us know what your favorite beer is. Yeah.
Favorite beer?
Yeah.
Hazy pale ale.
I honestly don't drink beer. I might have to go like do a beer testing thing and find out what my favorite beer is and then link something.
Go to a craft brewery and just like find a whole bunch of different ones. Foster's,
Maybe.
fair
No.
enough.
No. Foster's is a joke because Europe drinks Foster's, but Australians don't drink Foster's. But it's made in Australia.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's why. Oh, we have Chalak going. Well, yeah. Thanks, Dargie.
Yeah.
Go follow him, guys. He's awesome. Yeah. And that would be that.